サウスブルーから長旅ご苦労だったな。おめえはここで脱落だ。ぜはははは。山にするには弱くていらねえが。どうだ、俺の女になるなら連れてってやってもいいぜ。
How are you tonight?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to some Bonney gameplay in EB02. Bonney, honestly, a fantastic choice right now in the local meta, and in the meta in general. Has seen a lot of play, seen a lot of success, as the meta's kind of gotten a pretty aggressive. You know, you got Bellabetty, you got Zoro. You've got this new Vegapunk list as well, that my opponent's running here with the new blocker Vegapunk from EB02, and obviously green, purple Luffy. Bonney's just really good in all of those. Bonney not so good into some of the other mid-range control decks like Lucci and Shanks, but we'll see how well we can do with this. Playing in a Vegapunk here, pretty happy to see this matchup. Ended up winning the dice roll, so we're going to take the play. Gotta take Vegapunk off the play for sure, or else they're just going to develop a 6k body immediately and just start swinging with it. So we're happy to take the play from them here, and they started off really strong. With the Vegapunk blocker on their first turn into good old Atlas, which can't be KO'd via battle unless I have less life than my opponent. So that card's going to be sticking on the board for a little bit here. We ended up, I believe, keeping our opening hand, which had a very important card in this matchup, and that is Carrot. Carrot being honestly one of the best cards you can see against an aggressive deck like Vegapunk. They're going to go ahead and swing 6k here, and we're going to go ahead and rest the blocker because there's no reason to rest the leader. We're going to take that one. I play, you know, I take life pretty liberally with Bonney. I usually just continue to take the first few hits until I'm down to at least 2 life, usually is where I start to counter out of things. Start to build up a big hand here because obviously in a matchup like this one, we want to develop into 8-cost Kid. Which we currently don't have in hand, but we have a whole lot of options here. We are on our 5-Don turn. Could play Smoker. Smoker's a pretty solid turn going first because you can immediately set a Don up to enable Bonney's ability. It's also a 7k Banisher, which is incredibly strong. But into this specific matchup, I think right now I'm valuing having some of my opponent's board locked down instead of having the tap ability for Bonney. So just going to elect to go for the Carrot, freeze that Atlas. This Carrot is likely going to keep this Atlas in check for the rest of the game, or as long as I keep Carrot alive. And the way I play Bonney, you know, is very character focused. I'm going to counter out of attacks into my characters. I'm not necessarily going to counter out of things at my life, at least for the first few turns here. We're going to see Vegapunk put a Nami into life. That Nami does KO a 5 or less as part of a life trigger, so I'm going to have to be cognizant of that as I start to swing into my opponent. But likely here in the early game, especially against Vegapunk, I'm just going to try to deal with my opponent's board as much as possible, put as much strain on their resources as possible, and make it to where when I go for game, their hand is now down to 1 to 2 cards, so it makes it a little bit easier. So we take the 5k from Lilith, and then they're going to play out a Shaka here. And it's going to pass back to us. We will not be swinging at life because I do not want to lose this Carrot, Nami being a big threatener. And it does make me wonder why my opponent didn't just play the Nami out with Vegapunk's ability instead. So that way they could just immediately deal with Carrot, because now, because they put it in life, I can kind of make a decision here to just leave it alone, right? Not attack my opponent's life, so that Nami's just stuck in life, and now they have to find another Nami to be able to take care of this Carrot, because this Carrot's going to be a bit of a nuisance for my opponent. We're going to swing 5k into the good old Lilith here, just removing the dice off there. 5k into the Lilith. They could easily block this here. I think I had a little bit of a plan with the amount of Dawn I have is pulling the Cavendish to the front of the hand. This deck's a little tight sometimes on some turns for Dawn usage, right? Especially when it comes to attaching Dawn. So just gonna have to do some vanilla base attack swings here. And I do get a 2k out of hand up swinging into the Lilith. We do freeze the Atlas again. We're going to play Cavendish out. Cavendish is going to restand 2 Dawn on play. So we got 4 more Dawn to work with. We're going to tap 4. And we're going to play Rouge. A card that used to see a ton of play in Bonney that has come back into the light here. Rouge kind of disappeared for a while just because there were so many easy ways to get rid of 4 drops, right? Especially when Dofi was really popular. Being able to use the 4-cost law to just bounce the Rouge made the Rouge play not very good. But now Rouge is kind of coming back up there because a lot of these other aggro decks don't have too much interaction. So Rouge just being a really solid way for me to set up 1 Dawn and just have a blocker. We're also kind of setting up into what I call like preparing for Kid, right? We haven't seen Kid yet, but Kid is kind of like our ultimate, ace in the hole against a deck, especially like Vegapunk, who's filling the board with a bunch of attackers. But since Vegapunk lost Kingdom Come, they don't really have a good way to deal with bigger bodies on board that are above 5 cost. So definitely going to be leaning into that. So having the Cavendish up on the field, as well as the Urouge, Urouge number 1 being a blocker, Cavendish also standing up Dawn, will allow me to be able to like play Kid out, attach it on, still have leader ability, things like that. So getting Cavendish here on this turn, going into my potential 9 Dawn turn is going to be pretty solid, but we have not found the Kid yet. Opponent's just gonna Dareshi define some new cards here. Dareshi amazing in the Vegapunk deck, allowing them to just immediately draw 2 because almost every card in their deck has a solid amount of triggers. Where that's a big old 9k swing. I think that was into the carrot there, and I decided to just use the Rouge blocker. Not going to give up any counter here because again we're looking for an 8 cost Kid, which we have not found. I do pull the Hody up to the front of my hand as like a potential way to just try to rob some resources from my opponent, right? I could take a life here to enable me to attack into Atlas, right? Because Atlas requires you to have less life than your opponent, and since my opponent's at 3 right now, could just play that, tap the 2 blockers, and just start like swinging into their forces, right? With some solid hits from my board here. But we'll see what we decide to do here. We also have a Smoker in hand that we could play out. The world's kind of our oyster right now. You know, with Cavendish on board, you're really looking at like 11 Dawn right now, right? Because I get 2 stood up from Cavendish, and then I can use Smoker's ability at the end of turn to set up another one for leader ability. So yeah, we're gonna play out the good old Smokey here after we clear just a Vegapunk with an attack. Gonna keep that Atlas completely shut down. We're gonna swing 6k into the Lilith here. Opponent's just gonna let it go. Maybe doesn't want to give up another 2k like they did last turn. And we've still got 6 Dawn to work with here. Could establish a blocker. Looks like we're going to use 1 Dawn here to swing 6. Just going to keep pressuring my opponent's hand by swinging into their board, swinging into their big bodies here. We're going to play another carrot down. We do what I call the carrot special, which is where you swing into a character that you're planning on freezing in hopes that they give you counter for it, right? And then you know, if they don't give me counter and they let it go, I just play something else. But because they gave me counter, I can now carrot and freeze it. So I just got like a 1k counter for free, which is pretty great. And then we use Smoker's ability at the end of the turn, set up that Dawn. Notably, when playing Smoker, the Smoker character in Bonney, you can't activate Smoker's effect first because his effect basically blocks you from setting up Dawn with any other character's effect. So I have to Cavendish first and then Smoker at the end of my turn before I pass. But Vegapunk showing me another blocker Vegapunk putting an Atlas into play, and then playing a Nami from hand here to take out my Smoker. It's kind of, honestly, having Smoker on board is like a huge threat for my opponent, especially because it has Banish. But honestly, I kind of wanted them to kill my carrots. Kind of focus on the carrots here, but because they killed my Smoker, my carrots get to live and they get to keep freezing for days. So we're going to see a 9k swing or a 10k swing into Cavendish here. And I think that I just value Cavendish quite a bit. I could give up quite a few cards from hand. I think we're just going to potentially give up the Hody here. Let's see here. So this is a big 10k. First, let's rest before we counter out of anything. We'll rest that blocker. Then we're going to take it up to 9, take it up to 11. And he's going to pass the turn back to me. Cavendish survives. My 2 carrots are still here to keep freezing the board. And we're at 10 Dawn now. And we did eat up a bit of our hand, which is a little unfortunate. We're going to play out Bonney. Going to search the top 5. Look for something nice here. 5 cards. We find the Kid, which is exactly our ace in the hole for this deck. For this matchup. Unfortunately, fortunately, we do have a Rosinante to put into play here, also off Kid's ability, which is pretty nice. Having the Cavendish on board as well lets me have enough Dawn now to be able to attach 1 Dawn to Kid, as well as have 1 Dawn up for Bonney. So Cavendish, me kind of deciding to save Cavendish last turn, as set me up for this turn to be able to play out Kid, and hopefully have an immovable wall for a bit here. So I think, yeah, we're going to play the Kid out. Likely, maybe I should have hid some information and not played the Kid yet, and instead just did some swings with my carrots. But I think I wanted to have the Rosinante on field in case I wanted to start swinging at life. But we're going to send 6k into the blocker. We're going to freeze the other blocker here. And this other Bonney has a decision to make right now, and it's, do I swing for life or do I just swing into the frozen character on board? Double carrots gets is incredibly good, but it's a little harder to work around. And a little snapshot from my head when your opponent doesn't have too many things rested. So you know, I like to be efficient, right, in how I attack. So right now I'm thinking, is it worthwhile for me to swing lead? And I think this is going to be going at lead here, and we're just gonna. The reason, okay, so here's a fun little thing. I kind of predicted that my opponent had a non-trigger in hand based on the way my opponent was playing earlier in the game. And it turns out he did not have a trigger in hand. He actually had a Sanji blocker in hand. So I kind of sussed out that there was no trigger to where he couldn't trigger the Nami off of life and take out something from my board. Now this Nami will potentially be coming down this turn to take out one of my threats. I could use the Rosinante to stop it, right? Rosinante does prevent a KO of a rested character you control by trashing himself. But I do think I want to keep it on for Kid because I only have 2 cards in hand right now. And we're going to see exactly the card that I suspected was in my opponent's hand. A good old Sanji from EB02. If you get 2 or less to life, draw 2, trash 1. Nice little 6k blocker. Very solid card for the deck. And a bit more Dawn here. They're going to have to swing high here because they're going into Kid. That's a 10k into Kid. We're going to rest the Nami here just for funsies. And we're just going to use the Rosinante to block here. No reason to give up 2 cards from my hand when I only have 2 cards. And I think we have an effect of leader here with 1 Dawn left. They could put a card on life, take themselves back to 3, or put something into play here. So it's really up to them. But I'm in a pretty commanding position right now, though. If I can't find like another blocker or start dealing with my opponent's board, it's likely my Kid's going to be gone this next turn just based on the amount of Dawn my opponent has here. And looks like he replaces... Yeah, I correct him. Hey, like that Nami is still on board. But he's going to use a Nami, going to trash a Jireshi to take out my Cavendish. So no more free Dawn, no more 12 Dawn a turn here, which honestly is pretty broken for me. But we find another blocker off Kid, off the top, which is pretty cool. We can also develop a Smoker here. But I think we're just going to continue to go into my opponent's board here to the best of my ability. Could swing a 7k or a 6k here into something. Definitely thinking about swinging 6k. We're gonna swing a 6k with Carrot into the Nami, freeze the Atlas, and we'll see here if my opponent only 2 cards in hand. If they want to give me a card, that's great for me. If not, they could give me a blocker. But I think we're just gonna swing a 6k. This 6k might go at life here. I think we're gonna swing it into life here. And freeze the other blocker, the Shaka. And they end up triggering the Edison that we already saw in life. They're going to draw 2 trash 2, kind of filter out their hand a little bit. And we're going to attach 1 to Kid and likely just swing a 9k. I think this 9k is going to go at face here. They're going to use the Sanji blocker to prevent that. And now we can just kind of develop our board again. So we've got exactly... well, now we can swing 6. Because we're going to need only 8 Dawn for what I'm about to play. We're going to swing 6. They're going to give me a 2k counter in hand. We're going to play Bartolomeo and then play out the Smoker. I've got 1 card in hand. I'm going to set 1 up off of Smoker's ability, and we are rocking and rolling into what might be the last turn of the game here. Vegapunk absolutely starved on resources. 1 life, 2 frozen cards on board, 2 5ks, and a Dream. And I'm feeling pretty solid here. They're going to swing 10k into the Kid. We're just going to use the Bartolomeo blocker. We tap down the Edison, so they have no other attackers this turn. And they're going to play out a Sanji here. Draw 2, trash 1, Sanji blocker. Very, very solid card for Vegapunk. Very good for an L as well. And we're going to go back to me. And I think this is the turn we can put the nail in the coffin. 1 blocker, 1 card or 2 cards in hand, and 1 life. That life could be another blocker, which would be pretty unfortunate. But we might as well just start swinging some 7s here. I think the first we're going to go for... I'm holding 2 Dawn here. Do we want to go for a 9? Fine, we'll go for a 9 here. Just to ensure that we get the blocker here, because that does have Banish. And I think now we can just start swinging some 7s with the rest of the board. We'll go 7, freeze the Shaka that's already frozen. They're going to take that one immediately. Not a trigger, goes straight to hand. And we're gonna go another 7 into that, and we get two 1Ks and a break. The 7 just cleans up the game before the kid can do anything. They ended up hitting a 8-drop kid out of life, so no trigger off that. Very unfortunate for the opponent. We have a whole bunch of, we got 2 2Ks and a smoker in life. Very solid game, very as expected game right into Vegapunk. Pretty simple matchup for Bonney. But anyways, if you enjoy this type of content, definitely subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.